Hello gamers, this is Si, and welcome back to Which Way Games. Now, why should the early bird be careful of the worm?
And with that being said, let's get on with the video.
In the world of gaming, there have been many heroes over the years, and while some of these escapades are the stuff of legends, others have become more infamous within the digital realm that gamers call home.
A few famous heroes that come to mind are Samus Aran, Sonic the Hedgehog, and of course the hero of time himself, Link. But among these gaming elites is one hero that is often overshadowed by these legends of the digital world, and this would be Earthworm Jim. But to understand the worm in the super suit, we've got to take a trip back to the past.
In the late 80s and the early 90s, the world had several crazes sweeping the nation. Some of these came in the form of the heroes in a half shell, a collection of humanoid cats, the strongest man in the universe, as well as transforming robots.
Now, one thing that all these had in common were toys, and although they were successful, they soon found themselves going up against the world of video games, especially ones that star a certain blue hedgehog. And as history will tell you, Sonic became an overnight success, and from this popularity, the Playmates toy company would be inspired to create their own franchise, but within the world of gaming.
This idea was a rare and risky approach at the time, and with plenty of concepts as well as ideas, there was one simple sketch of an earthworm with a gun that seemed to stand out.
Yeah, baby! Yeah.
This drawing was the handiwork of Doug Tenaple, who showcased it to Shiny Entertainment and proposed a video game that would combine comedy with platform shooting.
From here, Shiny Entertainment would acquire the rights to Earthworm Jim, but keep Doug on board so they had access to his unusual but creative mind.
Earthworm Jim started life as a simple worm, before fate would intervene when a super suit falls from the sky and lands on top of our heroic worm.
From here, Jim would begin to mutate and grow, eventually taking over the super suit, which allowed him to move a bit like a human, but with a freakishly large head. Eventually, Earthworm Jim would grace the world of gaming, with releases on the Super Nintendo and the Sega Mega Drive. Although his antics weren't just limited to these two amazing consoles, Earthworm Jim was also released on PC as well as handheld systems.
The gameplay for Earthworm Jim follows a platforming style similar to other platformers of the time, and when mixed with running and gunning, gamers are certainly in for a treat.
Now, Earthworm Jim had to deal with plenty of enemies by using his trusted gun, but he could also bring the smackdown by using his head a bit like a whip, kind of like when you wrap up a towel.
Not only was Earthworm Jim's head a secondary weapon, it also acted as a means to gain access to higher ground, very much like Simon Belmont's whip. And of course, throughout the game, Earthworm Jim would come face to face with some bizarre bosses.
These bosses had strange but funny names. For example, there was Professor Monkey for a head and the deadly Bob the Killer Goldfish. But of course, what adventure would Earthworm Jim have if there wasn't a damsel in distress to rescue? And in this case it was Princess what's her name?
Earthworm Jim proved to be hugely popular with gamers of all ages, thanks to its decent gameplay and rib-tickling humour.
Now, not only was Earthworm Jim a gaming series, it was also a comic, a toy line, as well as a cartoon. And I know full well that the cartoon guy will look at that in a future episode.
You're goddamn right.
From this popularity, it was pretty much set in stone that a sequel would occur, and eventually Earthworm Jim 2 would grace the world of gaming.
Earthworm Jim 2 sort of stayed with the side-scrolling run and gun formula from the first game. However, things were a bit different.
Oh, really?
The gameplay felt faster and more responsive, there was a vast amount of mini-games found within each stage, and of course the humour that made the original such a classic was back, but this time around the comedy factor was turned up to ludicrous levels.
Now, the first two games within the Earthworm Jim series proved to be popular with gamers, but eventually the series entered development hell when it came to the third installment of the franchise. Eventually, Earthworm Jim's adventures into the world of 3D came to be, but this time around, the magic surrounding the first two games was missing.
When Earthworm Jim 3D was eventually released, it found itself dealing with other and more successful 3D platformers of the time, such as Banjo-Kazooie and Super Mario 64, which wrote the rulebook on how a character should be able to move in the world of 3D.
Despite being surrounded by gaming royalty, Earthworm Jim 3D did its best to entice gamers, but was met with lackluster reviews, but over time has gained a bit of a following.
Overall, the Earthworm Jim games are fun to play, and are a testament to the humour of the 90s, which when looked at now can seem quite bizarre. Gamers will find themselves fascinated by the many enemies that Earthworm Jim will come face to face with, and perhaps from the games, the interest in one of gaming's many popular worms will ignite once more.
Anyway, come back next time where I take a look at some of the classic games from developer Konami and how some of these have changed the world of gaming. Thank you so much for watching and see you next game.